it might have to go back to review status because there might not be enough rough consensus. But we can go over the forum posts if you guys like, unless there's something specific in CIP 12 that you guys want to talk
Well,
about.
no, I think the CIP 12 is can still stay in last call or even go to finalization, as far as I understand. It's just
Okay.
the CIP 17 for including it. Which hard fork will it be included in is
Mm-hmm.
TBD.
Okay.
I have just one thought on that. I really like the SIP. It's just that the SIP still has like boilerplate text for security considerations. So that's what this forum post is actually trying to spell out. I think that SIP needs like an actually fleshed out security consideration section before it goes to last call, final call, whatever. So yeah.
Sounds good. So it sounds like you can't go to last call because you have some security consideration that you want them to update in the CIP. So it should be moved back to review, address the feedback that you have in the forum post on moving the boilerplate text for security consideration, adapt your feedback, and then we should move it back to last call.
Yeah, that works for me. I don't know
Okay.
if yeah.
No, I mean my only feedback is to let the authors of the CIP know this. I guess I mean you already captured in the forum post, but maybe we can ping the authors as well about the status because they're not on the call.
Yeah, I think Suzanne up, but
But
we could bring it up maybe in the next all core devs.
cool. All right. So CIP 12 will move it back to review status and will like the decision for that is being captured by the forum post um the forum post itself by your tool. If there's any other thing to cover, maybe we can move on to the next item, which is funding the audits. I think Evan, you're the one who wrote that one, but if there's other thing to cover before that, we can talk about that.
As far as funding the audits, this was just sort of forum post to sort of gauge interest on submitting a governance proposal to have a community pool spend. The details on where exactly those funds would go or who would control them or who would do the audits and how much they would cost is still like something that we need to discuss and can do async in this forum post. There might not be a lot of interest or there might not be interest for other chains. It just seems like since these two pieces of software are going to be adopted by so many different chains and provide like a lot of value, it's sort of like feels like a good use for community funds. It's a very well-defined scope. The outcome is like very concrete and measurable. So yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, that sounds good. I think maybe sharing that information more widely, like maybe a tweet or sharing it in the CDC channel about this forum posts, and maybe some people have proposals for auditing it would be helpful. We don't really necessarily capture anything related to community pool proposals in the CDC call. But I think at least the conversation around it relating to a CIP and it being audited is relevant for the call. All right. I don't know if there's more topics to cover in CIP 12 and the update. I think the call, like the action item, is to move it back to review and state the reason being which we'll wrote in the forum post. Have them update it, the authors update it, and then we'll move it back to last call once it satisfies the core devs. If there's nothing else, we can cover any updates to CIP 19.
Okay, cool. Since last call, there were two updates. One of them was addition of a new container type. That's pretty formal change that allows you to request whole EDS previously it wasn't possible or was possible only through rows. Besides, there was also a review from John Adler that I incorporated all his suggestions into the spec, and yes, these are the two changes. And I believe we can move this CIP to the next status,
yes.
I guess.
Okay.
Last call.
Yeah, so to move it to last call, it would require rough consensus from the core dev. Given that this is related to the data availability and you're, one of the main core devs on the DA layer, I'm assuming from the DA working group, you guys already have rough consensus on moving this forward, right?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, we have.
I wasn't aware of the EDS new type, but it shouldn't be anything big.
For your information, the new EDS type is not related to your work stream, so you please review it still and subscribe to updates on the CAP repo. But it won't attach your light node implementation. It's very specific to the node.
Yeah, I skimmed it quickly before the call, and yeah, it's minor.
Okay, so you was aware. Okay.
I guess maybe the follow-up question, given that either maintaining another version of the client, Wondertan, you were saying that it wouldn't apply to their work stream, or I mean, it wouldn't apply to their client design per se.
So this framework allows you to define multiple IDs and containers for various types, and it's optional, and clients can implement whatever they need for their own use cases. And currently, Agri focuses on the light node side of things, and light nodes do not need to sync the whole EDS. So this is why they don't need that piece. That should explain.
Yes, to add more to this, the binary representation should be compatible, even if we didn't even touch this EDS container type. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Sounds
to
good.
answer original question, I think we have a low consensus.
Okay, cool. We're gonna move it to last call then. 2 weeks from now, it should be final then. Like 2 week period for last call. And during the last call period, if anything comes up, you guys can feel free to bring it up and stuff. Then we could, if there's any kind of thing that hasn't been addressed, we can cover that and then move it to the right status, whether it's forward or back to review. But I think that should be it. Just update the status to last call and add 2 week review period. Me or one of the editors can do that, and we can revisit. And the other one is moving CIP 12 back to review based on Ritual's comments. Okay, I don't think there's any other topics to discuss other than, like, I guess, Evan, do you guys want to talk about any kind of updates to the timeline for Lemongrass? I know there's like new context added, but I don't know if it's relevant.
I'm not aware of any changes since the last call, but I'll defer to Ritual on that one.
We have we have tentative dates for a planned audit, which is the middle of May to the middle of June. So we're trying to finalize the pieces that are going to go into V2 as soon as possible. That way we can, cut a release candidate that can get audited. That's the only big update on timeline wise.
Okay. In that case, I don't think there's any other thing to cover. But that sounds good. It's just the audit updates. Before we end, anyone has any other item they want to cover on the call?
Yeah, I have one thing regarding CIP6. I can see a pull request for CIP6 to change it from last call to final. However, there's still an open topic that's not discussed, which is what I proposed in the forum, which is what the actual default minimum fee should be before, and that should be discussed before it moves to final, or agreed upon before it moves to final.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, I see a pull request to move it to final. But yeah, if there's an item that hasn't been covered, we should totally address that. Let me just try to pull up the forum post.
It's my pull request, so I will revert the change.
Okay.
How do we get consensus on this? Like, how do we know when we're happy with the initial value?
Well, I think it needs to be discussion. I propose something, so either people agree that it makes sense, or they have a differing viewpoint. In which case, they should post on the forum what they think it should be instead and why.
Okay, let's give them a deadline until next call, I guess, so in 2 weeks.
Okay.
I mean, the call here is also like a forum to discuss it, so you don't always necessarily have to wait 2 weeks until the next call. So if you guys want to talk about it now, it's like the perfect call for it.
Yeah, I mean, I think just summarize what I said in the post, which is that basically right now the minimum gas price right now is set to what the mempool minimum is, but in my opinion, until in the absence of EIP 1559 style fee adjustment mechanism, you can't really put a minimum default price right now on how data availability should be priced. Like, for example, like even on Ethereum, right? The minimum price for blob data is one way, so which is like free. And then that's adjusted by EIP 48444, the fee adjustment mechanism. So my recommendation is just to set it at the minimum, which is 0.00001 UTIA. And right now, that's basically the minimum because the mempool priority number right now is set with a scaling factor of 1 million. So any number below that, unless we change the mempool implementation, any number below that would basically be rounded down to 0 anyway.
As extra context, we'll still have the individual node configured minimum fee. So basically what happens if in V2, when this comes into effect, as the current local node minimum fee is, I think, 0.002, which would be higher than this number, that will be the value set to get included into a node's mempool.
Yeah, that's fine, but that's a local config. So like different validators can have like different parameters for that.
Yeah, I just wanted to inform other people that it still exists.
Yeah.
So is there an alignment on Mustafa's recommendation, Callum, from your side?
Yeah, I've got nothing again, nothing to sort of criticize it. I think it's fair to it's basically starting it with it turned off. And then when we feel like it's needed to be there because we feel that it's underpriced to some capacity or needs to be kept, not really capped, have a floor, then we can introduce it.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds good. In that case, the pull request will have to move back to review status. So we'll move it back to review status until you guys implement the changes by Mustafa recommendation, and then we should be good to go to finalize it.
Does final mean that it's been implemented or that it's been agreed upon?
Move it back to review. We'll take care of that. update it with the changes recommendation by Mustafa, and then we'll get it for another final call. This one it could last a week because it's already been in last call before. If you guys already align, and then it will just be final. Final, not in terms of implemented, final in terms of the specifications that are currently agreed upon.
Okay.
And I think Nina, for your pull requests, we can merge it as is, but we're just gonna move it back to review status. So anything like this, we can always merge it. That's fine, because it's just like edit changes, and given that will be in review status, I think these changes are fine.
I would also want someone from Core App Team to take a look at it before we merge it.
Yeah, cool.
Thanks, yes.
No worries. All right. Any other topics to cover? Cool. Feels like there's a few CIPs en route. Some are going back to review, and some are moving ahead to last call. With that said, thank you everyone for coming to another Core Dev call, and I'll talk to you all in 2 weeks' time. Take care.
Thanks. See you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.